This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for joining us again. And today we're going to talk about scaling. And I know that you have had some experience with SAFE. So, what we'd like to do is introduce some of the experiences that we've had with different scaling models so that the people who take this class will have not a overview or us teaching them what the models are, but more of some insights into why they might choose a scaling method or some things that they should be on the lookout for as they're introducing different scaling methods to the companies they're working with. So I'd love to hear what your experience with SAFE is.
Thank you so much, Sheree. I'm just going to share with you a couple of experiences I've had in SAFE environments. SAFE stands for Scaled Agile Framework. Let's start off with PI planning. So PI stands for Program Increment, and this is the practice that SAFE is most famous for. Sometimes it's called big room planning. And on the SAFE website, it says, if you are not doing it, not doing PI planning, you are not doing SAFE. This is a core SAFE practice. It's sometimes called big room planning because it's 100, 150 people in a room doing quarterly planning. And if you've never seen that before, it's absolutely spectacular. All sorts of teams looking at their backlogs, creating a roadmap, figuring out dependencies, having conversations about what's important. And it takes quite a while. And one thing that I learned from our colleague Jason Tanner is that the facilitation skill required to run a successful PI planning meeting is far above the facilitation skill required to do, say, a sprint planning meeting. I observed almost 10 years ago Jason doing a PI planning event at a large insurance company, and it was really a sight to behold. He was the main facilitator, and there were many co-facilitators. He had scheduled and really thought very carefully about what the facilitation structure was. So PI planning is very important, absolutely critical to SAFE. It does require a significant amount of skill and experience, so that's something that coaches and companies that are interested in SAFE and interested in PI planning should watch out for. The second thing I want to talk about is the SAFE hierarchy. So SAFE has multiple hierarchies. I learned about SAFE from our colleague Mark Palmer. And one of the things that really struck me about the famous SAFE diagram is that in what is now called portfolio SAFE and full SAFE today, there's an enterprise architect at the very top of the diagram, multiple levels above the team level. And so there are many key decisions that are going to be made above the team. There's this concept of an architectural runway that's being set outside of the team. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing SAFE. There are these very strong hierarchies, both technical hierarchies, product hierarchies, and other hierarchies. And the final thing I want to discuss is the importance of a team. A couple of years ago, I was called in by a company that said, Michael, we're doing SAFE. We've been doing it for a year, but you know what? We need a coach to stand up in front of the teams and tell them to do Scrum. Very interesting comment from a company that's been doing SAFE for a year. And I had many questions. One question was, how is it possible that after a year of doing Scrum, you need a coach to stand in front of the teams and tell them how to do it? And so no matter how you're scaling, what you're scaling, what's happening at the team level is still fundamentally important. The fact that there's a structure above the team level doesn't mean that you can ignore the team. In fact, if you're scaling something, you want to be scaling something that is helpful and that serves people, that serves your company. So make sure that the team is functioning well, and then you'll be able to scale more successfully.
Wow, Michael, that's really great information. I love some of those observations that aren't always brought out when we talk about SAFE. And I love that the way that you're talking about this for our students is not from the perspective of, I love SAFE or I hate SAFE, but rather, here's my experiences, because as we know, there's never the right answer for anything that is like across the board. It's always what's going on in your situation and what's best for you. And I know that also we often go into companies where they're already doing some kind of a scaling method. And as coaches, we don't have the opportunity to get out front and to help them decide what that scaling model is. You walk in and they're like, we're already so deep in this, we're not changing it. So help. And so these are really important things for our students to know as they're bringing these in and as they're joining companies, that these things, especially that team level, if you can't do Scrum at the team level, it's kind of hard to scale Scrum across an entire company. So still very foundational. Well, I appreciate your words today. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.